Good evening. Today we are going to come and talk to you about credit scores and how you can get the perfect credit score without having a credit card or opening any lines of credit.
How do you do that?
I don't know.
Find out on today's episode. But seriously though.
Alright, so first I think it's probably a good idea if we talk about what a credit score actually is. A credit score is a series of numbers, usually like 3 numbers, that determine how good you are at paying debt. And lenders and mortgage brokers and banks and things like that, they use that to determine how likely you are to pay any loan that they would give you. So if you have a high credit score, they're likely to give you money to borrow. If you have a low credit score, they're not likely to give you money because you don't have a good history of paying money back in the first place. Depending on where you live in the world, it might be called something different and the numbers might be different. In Australia, the numbers go from 0 to 1,000. In the United States, it's to 850, and it's sometimes called a FICO score there as well. But yeah, no matter where you live, the principle is the same, and the higher your score, the more likely they are to give you money. The lower your score, they're not probably going to hand you over any sort of money.
Right, so how do you get a credit score? Right, to be able to get a credit score, you need to have some kind of debt and you need to be paying it. If you're paying your credit or paying back your loans on time regularly, then it will bring your credit score higher. Whereas if you're missing payments every now and then, that will tend to drag your credit score down a bit lower. The other option that there is to have an indeterminable credit score. And that's, you get one of those by not having any debt or any credit at all.
And that's actually what we want to talk about. That's what you want to aim for. You don't want to aim for the highest credit score because that just shows that you're good with debt. It doesn't show that you're good with money. It doesn't show that you have money or anything like that. It just shows that you're good at paying your debt. But you can be paying your debt with other debt. So you can have one credit card and you pay that credit card with the other credit card, and it just goes round and round and round. You don't have any money, you're just good at paying debt.
Yeah, good at paying your bills on time, but not really good at managing your money.
But what are you paying them with? Yeah.
So your credit score will be calculated as indeterminable because you've never had anything, so it'll be at 0, so they won't be able to figure out whether you're good at paying off your credit or not. Because
you don't have any credit. When they're calculating your credit score, they'll take into consideration how many lines of credit you have. Like if you have a car loan, personal loan, a hire purchase, mortgage, multiple credit cards and things like that. If you have lots of lines of credit open and you pay them all, your credit score is going to be high, but that doesn't mean that you have the money. Alright, so your aim is not to have a high credit score, your aim is to have a 0 credit score. I think that's the best way to go. Just because you have a low credit score doesn't, a 0 credit score, indeterminable credit score, does not mean you can't get a mortgage. I think that's the biggest fallacy out there, is that you need a high credit score to be able to get a mortgage and things like that. And I think that's what we wanted to talk about as well. Trying to get rid of the myth that you can't do that. Alright, so when we went to get our mortgage, we went to go get pre-approved at the bank and things like that, as you do, just to see how much money we could borrow based on what our savings were and like our credit history and things like that. And that was probably 5 years ago. And when we went into the bank, they asked us, well, how many credit cards do you have? And we had no credit cards. And then they said, oh, well, that might be a bit difficult because we don't know how good you are with money. And then they opened up our bank accounts and they went through those bank accounts with like a fine-tooth comb, and they saw how we spent our money. They saw that we were very regular savers, that we had saved a huge amount of money in a short period of time, and we still managed to live quite comfortably.
Yeah, and pay off all the bills and all those essential things that you got to do every day to day.
And so they could see what kind of people we were, how we spent our money and things like that. And our credit score didn't actually come into it. It was a lot more tricky for them, I think, because with a credit score, they can just type your name into a computer and it'll spit out a number for them and say, yes, they're good with money, or no, they're not good with money. If you don't have a credit score, if you have an indeterminable credit score like we did, it's just more difficult because they have to manually process things. They have to go through your bank accounts and things like that. But don't be put off thinking that you need to get a credit card or some kind of credit to be able to get a mortgage and things like that. It's just going to be extra work for the bank, and they're going to probably not be too happy about it, but that's not really your problem.
Yeah, make them work anyway.
Man, they take all your money anyway when you pay all the fees for your mortgage, so make them work for that money, not just type your name into a computer. Okay, so here's where the bank started playing games, I think. When we came out of that meeting, we came out with pre-approved for over $600,000. We didn't need $600,000, but they said, here, take $600,000 just in case you see something better that you might like. Maybe you need a bigger house, maybe you need a swimming pool or something like that. They were trying to upsell to give us as much money as they could. Alright, had we taken up $600,000 in mortgage debt, we would not be able to pay it. I know that for a fact. Based on how much we earn, we would not be able to pay a $600,000 mortgage without living on bread and butter, noodles, things like that. We would probably have to take out loans, get credit cards and things like that. And that is their plan, I think. I think that's their game. Give you as much money as they possibly can, so then you have to borrow more and more and more, and then you're just trapped into the banks, into their vicious cycle of just repaying debt and not ever getting a step up in the world.
Definitely, I feel like the banks, they just want to hook you with their money.
Like when we got a credit card to go overseas to pay for car rentals and hotels and things like that. And then once we'd had that for a while, we hadn't spent anything else on it after the holiday, and it was paid off and stuff, but they kept sending us things for more personal loans and upping our credit limit and things like that. So they just want to test you.
Yeah, we got like mail saying, you have been pre-approved to increase the credit limit on your credit card.
Yeah, so instead of the $6,000 credit limit that we had, they were offering us $20,000 credit limit. Do you know how much the interest payments would be on that if you spent $20,000? It would be insane. You would never be able to pay that off without some serious work. So it's best not to do that.
Definitely. So at the end of the day, the question is, should I get a credit card to make myself have a good credit score? And the answer is
no.
You don't always need to have a credit card to get a good credit score. Sometimes a good credit score can be 0
That's
or undeterminable.
The best credit score that you can possibly have is 0. Just because society does it and everybody else around you is doing it does not mean that it's right or that it's the best decision. Because realistically, most of the world is living on credit cards.
People are definitely getting hooked by the afterpays and all the
buy now, pay later.
But instead, what you should do is to make regular contributions to our savings account, pay your bills on time, and live within the amount of money that you're
earning. And if you can't do that, it's time to make some hard choices. Money doesn't have to be complicated. It's really quite simple. Pay your bills on time, live within your means, and you're going to be so much better off. Having credit cards and having debt just complicates things. It's one of the biggest reasons for divorce. It's one of the biggest things that families argue about. It doesn't need to be this big, huge burden in your life if you just try and simplify it a bit better.
In our next video.
Alright, in next week's video we're going to talk about the things that we stopped buying and how much money they saved and what we buy instead. So make sure you subscribe so you can see that video, and we'll see you next week.
Alright, have a great week.